The first bullet wasn't meant to kill. It was meant to send a message. The second bullet corrected that mistake. The convoy erupted into chaos outside the private aviation terminal in Abuja. A white Range Rover swerved into a concrete barrier. Black-suited men spilled out, guns drawn, shouting in Korean. Amara Okoye didn't run. She stood 20 meters away in a slate-gray power suit, phone in hand, watching numbers drop across a digital dashboard. $43 million, frozen, across 3 offshore wallets. She exhaled slowly. Now, she whispered. The airport's auxiliary power grid shut down. Darkness swallowed the runway lights. Gunfire flashed like lightning. Across the tarmac, a tall man stepped out of a matte black armored sedan, moving through chaos as if it were rehearsed choreography. His suit was untouched, his expression calmer than the men bleeding near him. Joon-Ho, strategist of a Korean syndicate, expanding through African political corridors. He saw her instantly, not because she was closest, because she wasn't afraid. Their eyes locked across smoke and sirens. He said something in Korean to his men. The gunfire stopped. Silence fell unnaturally fast. He walked toward her. She didn't move. "You're bold," he said in English. "You're late," she replied. His gaze sharpened. "You orchestrated this disruption. Your men disrupted my transaction first." He tilted his head. "You froze $43 million belonging to people you do not understand." She smiled slightly. "I understand blockchain better than your accountant does." A pause. The tension shifted from violence to calculation. He studied her face carefully. High cheekbones, dark steady eyes, expression too composed for someone surrounded by bodies. "You're Amara Okoye. You did your homework." "I always do." "And yet," she said softly, "you still walked into my jurisdiction without asking." One of his men approached, whispering urgently in Korean. Joon-Ho responded without looking away from her. Then, in fluent Korean, she said, "You should tell him to secure the east perimeter. Your flank is exposed." The man froze. Joon-Ho's eyes changed. That was not in his intelligence report. "You speak Korean." "I speak money," she replied. "Language follows." Sirens wailed closer. He stepped nearer, lowering his voice. "Why interfere?" She lifted her phone, turning it toward him. The blockchain map glowed on the screen. "You routed political funds through humanitarian fronts. Sloppy layering. I intercepted it because I wanted a meeting." "You could have asked." "No," she said. "Men like you only respond to disruption." His lips curved slightly. He liked that answer more than he should. From Seoul, director Kang Min-yi watched the live drone footage feed. "Interesting," Kang murmured. "She's either suicidal or strategic." He turned to an aide. "Prepare a containment directive." Back in Abuja, the chaos was thinning. Joon-Ho gestured toward his car. "We should speak somewhere less explosive." Amara didn't hesitate. She walked beside him as if she had invited him here, not the other way around. Inside the armored sedan, silence felt heavier than gunfire. "You're self-made," he said finally. "Yes." "No sponsors." "I don't trust sponsors." "You froze our funds to negotiate leverage." "Yes." "You could have triggered retaliation." She turned her head slowly toward him. "And yet here you are, negotiating instead of retaliating." That was the first crack in his discipline. He wasn't supposed to be impressed. He was supposed to eliminate liabilities. His phone buzzed, encrypted message from Seoul. "Directive, remove subject, liability level high." He looked at the screen, then he locked it. He didn't reply. He didn't delete it either, just left it there. She noticed the micro-expression. "You received an order," she said calmly. He didn't answer. She leaned back. "Good, that means I'm important." He almost smiled, almost. "You assume a lot." "I calculate." He watched her carefully now. something deeper than professional curiosity building. You operate in political financing, he said. You redirect campaign funds, you influence elections. She met his gaze. And you destabilize markets through syndicate leverage. Let's not pretend either of us are innocent. He appreciated that. No moral lectures, just reality. You want immunity, he said. I want partnership. You're not strong enough to demand that. She tapped her phone. Across the dashboard screen in the car, his own offshore structures began appearing. Layer after layer, shell after shell, wallet after wallet. His silence this time was real. I mapped your expansion plan, she said quietly. Nigeria, Ghana, Senegal, you're buying governors before you buy ports. How? You underestimated local intelligence. He exhaled slowly. Join us, he said. She blinked once. I don't join men. I build empires. I'm not offering employment. And I'm not offering submission. The car slowed as it entered a private estate compound. Guards scanned the perimeter. The night felt too still. He turned toward her fully now. If you work with us, you'll have protection from international interference. From Seoul. His eyes flickered, she saw it, hook planted. You're not the only one watching this continent, she continued. Your government wants deniable influence. You're their deniable instrument. You speak dangerously. I live dangerously. A pause stretched. Something shifted. This wasn't a simple alliance. This was attraction built on power recognition. He fell first, not because she was soft, because she was equal. The car stopped. Before stepping out, he said quietly, If I choose you over orders from Seoul, you become my responsibility. She held his gaze. I don't need protection. His voice lowered. You will. Gunfire exploded again outside the gates. This time, it wasn't staged. One of his men shouted. Government task force. Amara's expression didn't change, but inside she understood. This wasn't random. Seoul had moved faster than expected. Director Kang watched from his screen and said, Let's see who he chooses. The first explosion hit the gate before anyone could finish shouting. Metal folded inward. Sparks sprayed across the courtyard like violent fireworks. The armored sedan rocked, alarms screaming through the estate. Out, Joon-Ho ordered. His men moved fast, disciplined, surgical, not street criminals, trained. Amara stepped out without waiting to be told. Smoke rolled low across the driveway as black SUVs skidded in behind the shattered gate. Not Nigerian police. Different formation. Different weapons. Different confidence. Joon-Ho's jaw tightened. Korean liaison unit, he muttered. Amara turned sharply. Your government. Yes. And they're shooting at you. Not at me. Another explosion tore through the courtyard fountain. Then they're shooting at me. Before he could answer, gunfire cracked from the balconies. His men returned fire. The estate turned into controlled chaos. Amara crouched behind the sedan, breathing steady. You said partnership, she shouted over the gunfire. This feels like liquidation. His phone buzzed again. Directive confirmed. Terminate liability. Recover data. He looked toward the advancing tactical team. They weren't here to arrest. They were here to erase. Joon-Ho made a decision in under 3 seconds. He grabbed Amara's wrist. Move. They sprinted toward the side wing of the estate as bullets chewed into marble pillars. One of his men fell. Another dragged him back. Inside, the hallways echoed with alarms. Amara pulled her phone out mid-run. What are you doing? He snapped. Routing contingencies. This is not the time. It's exactly the time. Her fingers flew across the screen. Across multiple offshore wallets, funds began dispersing in pre-programmed patterns. If I die tonight, she said calmly, 48 politicians wake up bankrupt tomorrow. He almost stopped running. You built a dead man's switch. I built leverage. They reached a reinforced office. He sealed the door behind them. Gunfire thudded against the walls. The room went quiet except for their breathing. For the first time since they met, there was no audience. No performance, just reality. "They're not supposed to operate this openly," he said. "They think you'll comply," she replied. He looked at her. "And will you?" Her voice softened, not weak but honest. "You brought them here." He didn't deny it. "In Seoul," he said, "Director Kang believes Africa is unstable. He believes people like you are variables that must be neutralized." "And what do you believe?" A long pause. "I believe you're necessary." Silence. Outside, footsteps pounded down the hallway. A voice shouted in Korean. "Open the door. This is a state directive." Amara looked at him carefully. "This is your collision point," she said quietly. "You hand me over and you stay loyal. And if I don't, you become expendable." He moved toward the desk, opened a hidden drawer, and removed a biometric drive key. "Behind this wall," he said, pressing his hand against a panel. A section slid open, revealing a narrow passage. "You built escape tunnels?" she asked. "I build contingencies." He stepped closer to her now, tension thick between them. "If we leave together," he said, "there is no going back." She didn't hesitate. "I burned my bridges years ago." The door behind them exploded inward. Without another word, he grabbed her hand and pulled her into the passage as smoke filled the office. Bullets tore through the room they'd just left. They ran through darkness lit only by emergency strips. As they moved, she asked the question that mattered. "Why?" He didn't slow. "Because they underestimated you." "That's not an answer." "It is to me." They emerged into an underground garage, 2 vehicles. He tossed her keys. "You drive." She caught them without surprise. "You trust me?" "No," he said, "but I respect you." They split into separate cars and burst out of the hidden exit as the estate above burned under government assault. 20 minutes later, they were speeding through a dimly lit expressway outside Abuja. Silence filled the car again, but it wasn't strategic now. It was charged. "You chose me over your government," she said finally. "For now." "That's not comforting." He glanced at her. "You think I did this for strategy?" "You don't seem impulsive." "I'm not." "Then why?" He didn't answer immediately, because the truth was uncomfortable. He had watched her under gunfire and seen no fear. He had seen precision, vision. He had seen someone who could expand an empire beyond intimidation, and he wanted that beside him. "You froze $43 million just to get my attention," he said instead. "That's not survival instinct, that's ambition. And that scares Seoul." "Yes." She leaned back in the seat. "And you." "A beat. It intrigues me." There it was, not love, not confession, but something more dangerous, interest. Meanwhile, in Seoul, Director Kang watched satellite feeds of the burning estate. "He chose her," Kang said quietly. An aide nodded. "Shall we initiate asset revocation?" Kang's expression hardened. "No." He leaned back. "Escalate." Back in Nigeria, Amara's phone vibrated. She glanced at it, and her blood ran cold. Unauthorized login attempt from inside her own system. Tunned. She hid the reaction instantly. Joon-Ho noticed anyway. "What happened?" "Nothing." "You don't look like nothing." She stared ahead. "I may have another problem. If it's political, I can handle it." "It's personal." He studied her. For the first time, she looked uncertain, and that changed something inside him. "You don't trust easily," he said. "No." "Good." "Why is that good?" "Because when you finally do, it will mean something." Their eyes met. The tension shifted again, less combative now, more intimate. Outside, headlights appeared in the rearview mirror. 3 black SUVs, matching speed. Joon-Ho's jaw tightened. They're tracking us. Amara's fingers tightened on the steering wheel. You said if we leave together, there's no going back. Yes. She pressed harder on the accelerator. Then let's make it worth it. The SUVs accelerated. Gunshots cracked against the rear windshield. The chase had begun. The first bullet shattered the rear windshield. Glass exploded forward in a violent spray. Amara didn't scream. She swerved. Left, Joon-Ho barked. She didn't ask why. She trusted his instinct, not him, not yet, but his instinct. The SUV behind them rammed forward, metal kissing metal at 120 kilometers per hour. Brake check them, he said calmly. She slammed the brake and jerked the wheel. The trailing vehicle fishtailed, clipping a concrete divider. Sparks burst like fireworks. 1 down, 2 remained. Joon-Ho reached into the glove compartment and pulled out a compact handgun. You carry backup weapons in Nigerian rental cars, she asked dryly. I plan ahead. She almost smiled. Another SUV pulled alongside them. Windows rolled down. Gun barrels appeared. Joon-Ho leaned halfway out of the passenger window and fired with unnerving precision. The driver of the adjacent SUV slumped instantly. The vehicle swerved, slammed into a guardrail, flipped. Only 1 car remained. They're not trying to kill us, Amara realized suddenly. They're hurting us. Into what? Her phone vibrated again. Unauthorized wallet breach detected. Tunned. This wasn't coincidence. This was coordination. Her stomach tightened. Drive toward the old industrial district, she said. Joon-Ho looked at her sharply. Why? Because if I'm right, they're expecting us somewhere else. He studied her face. She was calculating, but something underneath it was different now. Personal. You trust your instinct? He asked. No, she said quietly. I trust patterns. She veered off the highway, diving into a maze of abandoned warehouses and container yards. The last SUV followed. Joon-Ho checked his phone. Another message from Seoul. Asset recovery priority, digital infrastructure. They didn't want him dead. They wanted her system, and someone inside her circle was feeding them access. The realization hit him. You have a leak, he said. She didn't answer, because she already knew. They skidded into a shadowed warehouse, compound, and killed the headlights. Silence. The pursuing SUV slowed at the entrance. Let them come inside, Amara whispered. That's reckless. That's controlled. She stepped out before he could argue. He followed instantly. The SUV rolled cautiously into the yard. 4 men stepped out, not Nigerian, not random mercenaries, Korean, government. One of them raised a megaphone. Lee Joon-Ho, stand down. The woman is state property. Amara's jaw tightened. Property. Joon-Ho stepped forward. She is not an asset. She compromised national strategy. She improved it. Your loyalty is compromised. A pause. The team leader's voice hardened. Last warning. Amara leaned toward Joon-Ho. They're buying time. For what? For whoever is inside my system. He understood instantly. This was distraction. You have remote access, he asked. Yes. Can you shut it down? Not without exposing the root servers. Do it. She looked at him. That will expose me to your government permanently. You're already exposed. Gunfire erupted. Negotiation over. Joon-Ho pulled her down as bullets tore into shipping containers behind them. His men, the few who had tracked their location, returned fire from the shadows. This wasn't a dramatic shootout. It was tactical, precise, cold. Within 90 seconds, 2 government agents were down. The remaining 2 retreated toward their SUV. Joon-Ho shot the tires. They didn't make it out. Silence returned again, breathing heavy, adrenaline sharp. Amara stepped away from him, pulling her phone out with shaking hands. She refused to acknowledge. She initiated full network lockdown. Across Africa, her political funding pipelines went dark. Campaign managers would wake up panicking. Governors would panic. Ministers would call emergency meetings. Her empire blinked offline. "You just crippled your leverage," he said quietly. "I protected it." Her screen flashed red. Access confirmed. Internal authorization VRIFID. She froze. Internal, not brute force, not hack. Someone had her key. She whispered the name like it hurt to say it. Tund. Joon-Ho's expression hardened. "Who?" "My partner." "Romantic." "No." He studied her face carefully. "Does he love you?" She didn't answer. That was answer enough. Joon-Ho looked away briefly. Jealousy wasn't logical here, but it was there. "He gave them your seed phrases," Joon-Ho said flatly. "He wouldn't." "You said that without conviction." She clenched her jaw. "He's been with me since university." "Which means he knows everything." Silence, gunpowder still thick in the air. "You built an empire," Joon-Ho said softly, "but you trusted someone with the keys." "I don't trust easily." "You trusted him." Her eyes flashed. "Don't." "Don't what?" "Don't analyze me like I'm one of your operations." He stepped closer. "You are my operation now." The words hung there, possessive, unintended, true. She met his gaze. "And what happens when soul decides you are compromised beyond repair?" His voice lowered. "They already have." That was the second crack in his armor. He had chosen her. Now the consequences were real. Her phone buzzed again, this time a message from Tund. "I'm sorry, you left me no choice." Attached, live coordinates. He wanted to meet, or he wanted to trap her. Joon-Ho saw the message over her shoulder. "Don't go," he said immediately. "I have to." "It's bait." "Yes." "And you'll still walk into it." She looked at him steadily. "You chose me over your government." "Yes." "I have to choose whether I'm still stronger than betrayal." Their eyes locked. This wasn't about money anymore. It was about control, identity, trust. "If you go," he said quietly, "I go." She hesitated, not because she doubted his skill, but because she realized something new. If he kept choosing her like this, it wouldn't just be strategic anymore. It would be emotional. And that was dangerous, far more dangerous than Seoul. In Seoul, Director Kang received the field report. 2 units lost, the aide said. And Lee Joon-Ho defected. Kang folded his hands slowly. "Good." The aide blinked. "Good." "Yes," Kang said softly. "Now we escalate beyond deniability." He turned toward the screen displaying Amara's frozen crypto networks. "Prepare diplomatic pressure. Freeze her international banking recognition." "And Lee. Make him understand what disobedience costs." Back in the warehouse yard, Amara looked at the coordinates again. Old Marina docks, midnight. Joon-Ho stepped beside her. "You don't forgive betrayal easily," he said. "No." "Good." She looked at him carefully. "Why?" "Because neither do I." The wind moved between the containers. The night wasn't over. It was evolving. She slid her phone into her pocket. "Midnight," she said. He nodded. "Then we hunt." Midnight carried a different kind of silence at the marina. The water barely moved. Cargo cranes stood like skeletons against the skyline. Sodium lights flickered over rows of abandoned containers. Amara arrived first. Of course she did. She stood at the edge of the dock in a black coat, phone in hand, watching the tide roll in like a slow heartbeat. Joon-Ho's car pulled up behind her. He stepped out, scanning rooftops, shadows, reflections in the water. "You came anyway," he said. "You knew I would." He didn't deny it. "Snipers?" she asked. "None visible." "Hidden?" "Probably." She nodded once. Footsteps echoed behind them. Tundafalian stepped out from between two containers. He looked thinner, more tired, but not afraid. That hurt more than anything. "You shouldn't have come alone," he said to Amara. "I didn't." His eyes flicked to Joon-Ho. "So it's true." "What's true?" she asked. "That you partnered with them." "I partnered with power." He laughed bitterly. "You always said we'd build something clean. We built something effective. That's not the same." Silence pressed in between them. Joon-Ho watched carefully, measuring tone, distance, breathing patterns. Tund wasn't here to beg. He was here to justify. "You froze everything," Tund continued. "Campaign funds, relief projects, you crippled your own network. To protect it. From me. From whoever you sold it to." Tund's jaw tightened. "I didn't sell you. You gave them my keys. I gave them access to stop you." Her expression didn't change. "Stop me from what?" "Becoming what your father fought against." That landed, harder than a bullet. Joon-Ho's eyes narrowed. "Explain," he said quietly. Tund ignored him. "You think I don't know why you started this," he said to Amara. "You wanted revenge, you wanted control, you wanted to prove you were smarter than the system that killed him. And I am. You're becoming it." The wind shifted across the water. Amara stepped closer. "Who approached you?" "Does it matter?" "Yes." He hesitated. "Korean intermediaries. They said you were destabilizing foreign policy channels, that you were provoking retaliation. And you believed them." "I believed you were going too far." She laughed once, sharp and humorless. "You helped foreign intelligence access African elections because you were worried about my ethics. I helped them slow you down. By giving them my seed phrases." His silence answered. Joon-Ho stepped forward now, voice colder. "You didn't just slow her down. You triggered state escalation." Tund finally looked at him fully. "And you're innocent. You're expanding organized influence under diplomatic cover." "Yes," Joon-Ho said calmly. The honesty startled both of them. "I don't pretend to be moral," he continued. "I pretend to be effective." Tund shook his head. "She trusted me." "That was her mistake," Joon-Ho replied. Amara's eyes flashed at that, but she didn't argue, because it was true. Tund stepped back slightly. "You don't understand what you're standing next to," he said to her. "I do," she replied. "No, you don't. Seoul isn't just pressuring him. They're freezing your international recognition. Your crypto exchanges will start rejecting compliance validation by morning." She didn't react outwardly. Inside, she recalculated everything. "They already moved," Joon-Ho said quietly. Tund nodded. "They offered me immunity." "And?" Amara asked. "And I took it." The words landed like a gunshot. There it was, not fear, not regret, choice. "You chose protection over loyalty," she said softly. "I chose survival." "You always do," she replied. Silence, the kind that ends decades of history. Joon-Ho watched her carefully, waiting, because this was collision point 3. Kill him or use him. Tund reached into his coat slowly. Joon-Ho's hand went to his weapon. Tund stopped. "It's just my phone," he said. He held it up. "They're watching." "Who?" Amara asked. "Director Kang." As if summoned by name, headlights flared at the far end of the dock. Multiple vehicles, not tactical this time, diplomatic plates, escalation. Joon-Ho exhaled slowly. "He's done hiding." Tund looked at Amara one last time. "I can still help you." She didn't blink. "How?" "I have access to their liaison logs, the ones connecting your father's case to Korean intermediaries." Everything stopped. Even the water felt still. "What did you just say?" she asked quietly. Tund swallowed. "Your father's investigation crossed foreign energy deals. Korean trade syndicates were indirectly exposed. That's when the accident happened. Joon-Ho's posture shifted. That's not confirmed, he said. It is, Tund replied. I saw fragments when they recruited me. Amara's heart pounded once, hard enough she felt it in her throat. You're telling me, she said carefully, that my father's death connects to Seoul. I'm telling you it connects to Director Kang. The diplomatic convoy stopped 50 meters away. Doors opened slowly. Director Kang stepped out, tailored suit, impeccable posture, no rush. He looked almost amused. You've complicated things, Kang said calmly, approaching them. Director, Joon-Ho acknowledged. You disappoint me. I evolved. Kang's gaze shifted to Amara. You are remarkably disruptive. She held his stare. You're remarkably exposed. He smiled faintly. You believe you have leverage. I know I do. He glanced at Tund. And you, useful but predictable. Tund stiffened. You promised. I promised evaluation, Kang corrected smoothly. Amara saw it then. Tund wasn't protected. He was disposable, just like she had been, just like Joon-Ho had become. Kang clasped his hands behind his back. Lee Joon-Ho, he said. Final directive, return to Seoul. Surrender the woman, we will negotiate your rehabilitation. And if I refuse? Joon-Ho asked evenly. Kang's eyes sharpened. Then you are no longer Korean. Silence. The weight of that sentence was generational. Identity, exile, erasure. Amara watched Joon-Ho carefully. This was his impossible choice. Nation or her. He didn't look at her when he answered. I refuse. Kang studied him for a long moment. Then he nodded once. Then this becomes war. The diplomatic vehicle's headlights brightened. Men stepped out, armed, not police, not soldiers, private contractors with state backing. Amara turned to Tund. You wanted to slow me down, she said quietly. I wanted to protect you. You helped them target me. I didn't know. You never know, she interrupted softly. For a split second, something like grief passed through her eyes. Then it disappeared. She turned to Joon-Ho. Do we fight? He looked at the approaching line of men, then at her, then back at Kang. No, he said. Kang's eyebrow lifted. We don't fight, Joon-Ho continued calmly. We destabilize. Amara understood instantly. She pulled her phone out, unlocked it, looked at Tund one final time. You wanted to stop me from becoming the system, she said. Yes. She pressed one button. Across continents, encrypted files began transmitting automatically. Energy contracts, political payments, offshore accounts, all routed to international investigative journalists. If I burn, she whispered. Everyone burns. Kang's expression changed for the first time. Not fear, but irritation. You overestimate your immunity, he said. She met his gaze steadily. No, she replied. I just removed yours. Sirens began in the distance. Not private, not diplomatic, public, chaos was coming. Kang stepped back slowly. This isn't finished, he said. No, she agreed. It's beginning. The convoy retreated, not defeated, but recalculating. Silence returned to the docks. Tund looked at her, shaken. What have you done? She faced him calmly. Adapted. He stepped closer. I can still fix this. You already fixed it, she replied. Then she turned and walked back toward Joon-Ho's car. Joon-Ho looked at her differently now, not just impressed, not just intrigued, connected. You chose exposure, he said quietly as they walked. I chose leverage. You chose war. She glanced at him. You chose me. For the first time since they met, neither of them looked away. Behind them, Tund stood alone on the dock as sirens grew louder. He had betrayed her, but he had also handed her something bigger, truth, and truth was more dangerous than money. As they drove away, Amara's phone buzzed again. Unknown number. She answered without hesitation. A female voice spoke softly in Korean. "You've triggered something irreversible." "Good," Amara replied. The voice paused. "You're pregnant." The world stopped. Joon-Ho turned sharply toward her. She didn't breathe. "That's impossible," she whispered. "You ran your biometrics through Seoul's surveillance grid earlier tonight," the voice said. "We analyze everything." Silence in the car. The line went dead. Amara lowered the phone slowly. Joon-Ho's voice was barely audible. "Is it true?" She didn't answer immediately, because for the first time in years, she wasn't calculating. The car didn't slow, but everything inside it did. The city lights blurred past the windshield. The docks faded behind them. The war they'd just triggered echoed in the silence between them. "You're pregnant." The words sat there like a loaded weapon. Amara stared ahead. "No," she said finally. "They're manipulating." Joon-Ho didn't respond immediately. He wasn't panicking. He was calculating timelines, biometrics, surveillance grids, data harvesting. Seoul did analyze everything. "When was your last medical scan?" he asked quietly. She didn't answer. That was answer enough. His jaw tightened. This could be a tactic. Yes, but it could also be real. Her hand rested unconsciously on her stomach, just briefly. Then she pulled it away like she'd touched fire. "Focus," she said sharply. "They froze my international compliance validation. My exchanges will reject major transfers by morning. And journalists will wake up to leaked contracts." "Yes. You destabilized them." "I destabilized everyone." He almost smiled. "Good." She shot him a look. "This isn't a game." "I know." The car pulled into a secured underground parking structure owned by one of Joon-Ho's shell corporations. Concrete, cameras, silence. They stepped out. No more gunfire, no more docks, just the aftermath. Inside the private penthouse above the garage, the city stretched below them in glittering defiance. Amara walked straight to the glass wall and pulled up her network dashboard on a large screen. Red indicators everywhere. Exchanges suspended. Campaign calls flooding in. Political aides panicking. Her empire was shaking. Joon-Ho watched her, not the screen. "You're bleeding leverage," he said. "I expected backlash." "This is more than backlash." She turned to him slowly. "Director Kang won't move through brute force now. He'll move through diplomatic isolation." He nodded. "They'll classify you as a destabilizing foreign actor." "They already have." He stepped closer. "You understand what that means?" "Yes." "You won't be able to travel." "I don't need to." "You won't be able to access traditional banking." "I don't use it." "You won't be able to hide." That one lingered. She looked at him directly. "I'm not hiding." "A beat." "And the pregnancy?" he asked softly. Her expression shifted, barely. "That's irrelevant." His voice lowered. "It's not irrelevant. It doesn't change strategy. It changes risk." She turned away from him. "It changes nothing." But her fingers were trembling slightly. He noticed. He always noticed. Across the world in Seoul, Director Kang sat in a quiet office overlooking the Han River. Screens displayed news alerts lighting up across multiple African and European outlets. Energy corruption exposed. Foreign lobbying contracts leaked. Offshore influence networks questioned. Kang leaned back slowly. "She went nuclear," an aide said. "Yes." "Shall we initiate containment?" Kang's eyes remained calm. "No." The aide hesitated. "She's escalating international scrutiny." "Good," Kang replied. The aide blinked. "Good." "Yes, because now she's visible, and visible targets are easier to control." He folded his hands. "Prepare diplomatic freeze on her biometric identity." And Lee Joon-Ho. Kang's voice hardened. Revoke citizenship privileges, financial revocation, remove his Korean recognition. Exile, clean, quiet, permanent. Back in Abuja, Amara's phone rang again. Unknown encrypted number. She answered. Miss Okoye, a measured male voice said. This is Deputy Minister Park from Seoul's Foreign Affairs Liaison. She didn't react. I assume you've seen the diplomatic freeze order. Yes. We're prepared to negotiate. Joon-Ho's eyes narrowed slightly. On what terms? She asked. Return proprietary data and submit to compliance oversight. And in return, limited restoration of financial recognition. She almost laughed. You froze my identity, and now you're offering me partial existence. You are not in a position to negotiate aggressively. She looked at Joon-Ho, then back out at the city lights. You're wrong, she said calmly. The line went silent for half a second. You've miscalculated, she continued. If I lose compliance recognition, half your quiet energy contracts collapse under investigative scrutiny. A pause, she pressed further. And if I confirm the involvement of Director Kang in the interference surrounding my father's death, this becomes criminal, not diplomatic. There it was, she said it out loud. The line went very quiet. That would be unwise, Deputy Minister Park said carefully. No, she replied, it would be accurate. She hung up. Joon-Ho studied her. You escalated directly to the ministry. Yes. You're provoking state-level retaliation. Yes. He stepped closer now. And if you are pregnant. She turned sharply. Stop saying that. Why? Because it makes this personal. It is personal. No, she said firmly, it's structural. He reached for her wrist gently, not forcefully, just enough to ground her. You think I chose you because it was strategic? He asked quietly. She held his gaze. Didn't you? No. Silence. He stepped even closer. I chose you because you are the only person in that room tonight who didn't flinch. Her breathing shifted. That's not a reason. It is to me. She looked away first. She wasn't used to someone choosing her without leverage attached. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was Tund. She stared at the screen for a long moment before answering. What? She said coldly. They're moving on me, he whispered urgently. Kang's people, I'm no longer useful. Joon-Ho's expression didn't change. Amara's didn't either. You miscalculated, she said quietly. Amara, please. I can still give you full server access logs, the ones connecting Kang to the energy deals. And in return, protection. She closed her eyes briefly. Another impossible choice, kill him or use him. You gave them my keys, she said softly. I thought I was saving you. You saved yourself. I was scared. So was I, she replied. Silence. Joon-Ho watched her carefully, waiting. This was her defining move, not about strategy, about identity. Send the logs, she said finally. And then, Tund asked. Then disappear. You won't help me. No. The word landed like a verdict. She ended the call. Joon-Ho studied her. You let him live. For now. Why? Because information is more valuable than revenge. He nodded once. Her laptop pinged. Encrypted files incoming. She opened them. Energy transfer contracts. Shell companies. Director Kang's authorization signatures embedded in routing approvals. Her father's investigation logs cross-referenced. The truth wasn't abstract anymore. It was documented. She stared at the screen. He stepped behind her, close enough that she could feel his presence. Now what? He asked. She inhaled slowly. Now we stop reacting. And start. Building something untouchable. He tilted his head. Together, She looked up at him, a long beat. Yes. Not soft, not romantic, strategic, but something underneath it had changed. Her phone buzzed again. A medical alert notification. Automated biometric sync. Irregular hormonal spike detected. She froze. He saw it immediately. Amara. She swallowed slowly. This isn't confirmation, she said. It's indication. She turned toward him. For someone who claims not to be impulsive, you're very calm. He stepped closer. If it's true, he said quietly, it doesn't weaken us. It complicates us. He nodded. Yes. Silence wrapped around them again. Outside, the city moved as if nothing had changed. Inside, everything had. She walked back to the window. If I am, she said softly, almost to herself, this child doesn't inherit fear. He moved beside her. No, he agreed, they inherit power. For the first time that night, she let herself breathe. Not fully, but enough. The door explodes inward at 2:17 a.m. Black uniforms, silenced weapons, no insignia. But June knows. South Korean intelligence, he mutters. A flashbang detonates. Amara doesn't flinch. She rolls off the bed, grabs the encrypted drive from under the mattress, and tosses it into the fish tank. It dissolves instantly. Window, she says calmly. Gunfire rips through the walls. June drags her behind the concrete pillar. You should have stayed out of politics, he growls. You should have told your government I don't scare easily, she replies. A sniper round shatters the chandelier. The attack isn't just to kill them, it's to retrieve something. June's phone vibrates. Unknown number, he answers. A familiar voice, Minister Han. You embarrassed soul, Han says coldly. You funded an African opposition candidate without clearance. You've created diplomatic instability. Amara freezes, so this is bigger. Han continues. Return to Korea alone. Leave the woman. Or we expose her involvement in election interference to international media. June's jaw tightens. Or, he asks. Or she becomes the global face of financial terrorism. The call ends. Silence. Amara exhales slowly. They're offering you survival, she says. They're offering me obedience. And if you refuse, they bury you. June must choose. Return to Korea and save his position, sacrificing Amara. Stay and protect Amara, becoming a target of his own government. Either way, he loses power. He looks at her. For the first time, she looks uncertain. Don't choose me, she whispers. He steps closer. I already did. He pulls out his phone and sends a message to his Korean command network. Stand down. I'm no longer under your authority. That message is treason. Within minutes, his assets freeze. His offshore accounts lock. His sole properties are seized. Amara stares at him. You just burned your empire. No, he says quietly. I relocated it. The next morning, international headlines explode. Anonymous leak. Evidence of South Korean covert political interference in African elections. The leak traces back to Seoul servers. Not Amara, not June. Minister Han is forced into emergency denial. Amara looks at June. You didn't. He shrugs. I've been preparing for betrayal since I was 22. She studies him differently now. Not just dangerous, reckless for her, and that terrifies her. Later that night, no guards, no weapons, just silence. You shouldn't have done that, she says. Why? Because now they'll never stop. He steps closer. I don't need them. You need power. He looks at her like she just misunderstood something fundamental. You are power. She laughs bitterly. You're romanticizing me. No, he says softly. I'm recognizing you. Silence stretches. Then she whispers. You fell first. He doesn't deny it. I did. And that makes you vulnerable. He leans closer. It makes me decisive. Another call comes, not from Seoul, from Nairobi. An African rival syndicate leader. You weakened yourself, the voice says. Your Korean protection is gone. We're taking your ports. June smiles faintly. You're welcome to try. The call ends. Amara turns to him. You just made us independent. And exposed, she says. Yes. She steps closer. Good. Weeks pass. They consolidate assets through crypto networks beyond Seoul's reach. They build a private security wing independent of Korean ties. But something changes. Amara feels it first. Fatigue, dizziness. She ignores it, until one morning she doesn't. The doctor looks up from the scan. Congratulations. Silence. June stiffens. Amara doesn't react immediately. Pregnant. Not weakness, not softness. Legacy. The doctor leaves. The room is quiet. He watches her carefully. She doesn't look scared. She looks calculating. This complicates things, she says. He nods. Yes. But it doesn't stop anything. He shakes his head. No. She looks at him. For the record, I wasn't planning to ever build a family. He steps closer. We're not building a family. She arches a brow. We're building succession. A slow smile touches her lips. That's when she knows. He didn't choose love over power, he merged them. Across the ocean, in Seoul. Minister Han watches surveillance footage. Amara stepping into a secure compound. June beside her. Han murmurs. If we can't control him, we eliminate her. He signs a classified directive. Back in Africa, Amara looks out over the city skyline. Hand resting subtly against her stomach. She senses something coming. War, she asks quietly. June stands behind her. International. She nods once. Good. If you made it this far. Part 2 will be darker. More violent. More obsessive. And someone important will not survive. Comment Part 2 if you're ready for escalation.